Dear guests, welcome to our 6th panel now here at Afro Berlin. I'd like to welcome everybody and, if possible, take your seats. And please silence and respect for the stage and people who are sitting on the panel here. So it's all about money. Money talks, bullshit walks. That's what we say. And money makes the movies happen. So we need money to make things run. And there are new technologies. And how can we finance and fund movies and films from blockchain to crowdfunding? This is what we are talking about. And how you can finance a movie in a very modern way, maybe with new technologies. Let's find it out. Please welcome our guest with a warm applause on stage. And those who are standing, please take your seats and stop talking. It's a German production. We have to finish in time. Thank you. Yeah, now I get your attention. That's good. Very good. Okay, please welcome on stage a partner of Donaldson, Callif, Perez in the USA. He is an expert and he was quoted also in the Hollywood Reporter, for example, and in Variety, and recognized as the Attorney of the Year, Perez. And the next person is a founder at Alta Global Media and co-founder, HollyShorts Film Festival. He was is advisor at the board of chair of the Oscar qualification. Please welcome Stephen Adams from the US. And the great host for this panel, a writer, producer at Magnussen Media Group in the USA and Nigeria. He live documented those days, the making of the Blair Witch Project. Please welcome on stage Zubi Mohammed. So this is your stage.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming out here to Afro Berlin. Oh, there we go. Thank you, everybody, for coming out here to Afro Berlin. This is actually my first time coming to Afro Berlin and to EFM even, so it's really exciting to have everybody here. And anybody who's in the back, and we love it if people kind of come forward and all that kind of stuff, so if you can, that'd be great. All right. Well, I'm really excited about this particular panel over here because we're in a changing world of filmmaking, from different technologies, different ways films can be put together, and certainly, financing is also a changing field right now. So I'm looking forward to hearing all you guys' thoughts about how things are changing. I guess first, I want to start with Stephen. Kind of tell me a little bit about how the film finance models have been in the past and what you see how things are changing to today.
Well, I'll speak from a U.S. perspective because I think the European model is very different. It's usually about grants and appealing to government entities. In our case, it's commercial, and we have to make a commercial case to a studio, a network, or a streamer. And, we have to cope with whatever their agendas may be. Generally speaking, a room like this has not necessarily found a home in that world. It's not, it's evolving, but it really, honestly, it's a system that was not designed to reflect African culture. It reflects Western culture, and that's just the truth. And so in my opinion, this is the best time ever for a filmmaker from Africa or African descent to seek financing because, we are living in the world of technology, and technology is a tool that anybody can use. They're determined enough, and I think that's the optimistic point for me is like, this is the best time ever to be endeavoring to make something.
And Chris, how about yourself? What's kind of the things that you think are really going to start popping in, the world of finance, and especially from a legal perspective too? People, I'm sure, trying to find new ways to get financing, but then they might have some legal hurdles about is this the right way to do it? And clearances, because you're in the legal world. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier in terms of the kinds of trends that I'm seeing in the industry. And I'm also coming from a US perspective, so very commercial model. Obviously there's, grants and cultural institutions that provide funding as well, but especially with the last election. Who knows if that's going to completely dry up. But what I've been seeing a lot is brand partnerships, and I think it's a good thing, and it's also got its negative qualities. So many of my clients are financing their films in a number of different ways, and often when the most commercial option isn't available, which is to go to your Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and get a commission through those avenues, there may be synergies when it comes to identifying different companies or brands that just want to be associated with a particular filmmaker. The line that's being drawn between what is an advertisement and a truly independent film is very blurry at this point, right? I think brands are becoming a lot savvier about inserting their vision or what they want for their company into what looks like an independently produced film. And it can come in a 30-second spot. It can come in social media content. It can come in a 90-minute documentary, a 2-hour scripted film. And on the good side, that can help you produce your film because it's fully financed by this brand. On the downside, I think it's crucial for audiences to understand, okay, what am I actually watching here, right? Is this art? Is this independently produced, or is this being funded by a brand? And it's not always transparent when it's actually being funded by a brand.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point there because, Stephen and I, we actually, spoke a little bit about one of those projects. And, well, I guess you could just kind of describe that.
Yeah, I think, to your point, it is an interesting new kind of relationship to be a creative person who's essentially helping somebody to advertise their product. But if there is an alignment, it can make sense. There's a great example of a short film called Hair Love that won an Academy Award. And it was a very expensive animated feature about a father and daughter struggling with, her hair care. And you realize through this project that the mother has died recently. And so the father and daughter are bonding. And it's a beautiful, very heartbreaking, uplifting animated short, and cost about $1 million. And which is an extraordinary amount of money to spend on a short film. But when you realize that Dove Soap actually supported this thing, it's a cheap commercial. In this instance, it was a very perfect alignment of content, intention. They did not interfere with the purity of the artist's intention. It's an extraordinary thing. It won an Oscar and it deserved it. And it's probably far more effective than a commercial, because here's something that people want to send to each other and say, have you seen this? It made me cry. And it's so beautiful. And I think so there's a fine line. I think you have to kind of still fight for the integrity of your project and not just be thrilled that you're getting money because you're able to make something. It has to have some integrity, because the audience will know the difference, I think, between something that you give a damn about and actually have some passion for, and something that's just a pure piece of, just a different format for advertising.
So for filmmakers, does that seem to, are you basically saying it's important that filmmakers kind of, if they're going to go down this track, designing stories that could work with particular brands right out of the gate?
No. Design your story with your intention and your authenticity, and find somebody who gives a shit about your vision. Don't do it the other way around. Do not reverse engineer it. Do not sell your soul before anybody asks you to do it.
For sure. So basically that's the sort of some sponsorship models. Now for filmmakers who, like are based in various African contexts and stuff, with regard to technology, are there, for example, there's crowdfunding. Do you foresee kind of new kind of technology that can help fundraise? I guess that's for both of you, actually. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I'll jump in. I feel like it isn't so much that there's new technology. It's just that people need to kind of take it on. AI is a very useful, AI is a million things, and it's not like it's actually new. There's always been machine learning. It's just more accelerated. we have to kind of take it as an opportunity, not as a threat, because there's always people talking about it's going to eliminate this, and it probably will. But the reality is that if you look at film from its inception, in the beginning, film was what Nickelodeons, where people did the little peep shows, and then full-length cinema came along and knocked that out of existence. And then you got sound, which knocked a lot of other people out of that world. Then you got color, and that changed things. It changed the kind of actors that were being used because of their physicality. And then television became a threat to film. And at one point in the 1960s, it was declared almost dead. And yet artists came in and showed them how to reuse and how to reinvigorate this system and turned it into something else. Now we have, streaming coming along, and now AI doing other things. So I think in a way, if you look at the repeating cycles of what's happened in this business over the century plus that it's existed, it's always had technological threats. And I think there's also people that I know personally whose families have been in the business for 4 and 5 generations who've been able to navigate that and remain successful. So it's really up to us to kind of adapt and take these tools on and ride them. Like don't take AI as a threat, like it's going to stop, it's going to make move. I don't give a damn what a machine wants to do. I want it to serve my vision, not the other way around. So I think that's kind of where I'm looking at how technology's got to be seen as something that we are taking forward. For example,
AI's got to live alongside a thriving intellectual, creativity, humans creating works, identifying things that we all know and love. My fear with AI was always that the human side would be completely eliminated, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to let it happen. I think from a technology standpoint, in terms of financing and distribution, what we're seeing is that as AI grows and becomes more influential, is it's developing smarter algorithms. That's what we believe it is, right? Because it's honing in on particular audiences, right? So from a financing perspective, if you're out there crowdfunding and a crowdfunding group has a specific AI learning model that helps you identify, okay, well, this person has supported this project and this project, you're the next project in line. That person is going to be much more supportive of this project versus this one. We're not going to put it in front of them, right? And that's the whole idea of an algorithm. And it also, we've seen it happen with all of the major platforms. What I'm hoping is that alongside that, it's not just the algorithm, but something slightly outside of that, where, we all know of these festival hits or these films that won the Oscar that no one thought was going to win. They came in from the outside. No one knew about this person. No one knew about this project. And I don't think an algorithm can identify that. At least I hope it can. I hope that there's something about human creativity that will always bring in something from the outside that can't be anticipated. And we have to allow room for that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think that I don't want to see a machine create something for me. There needs to be a soul in it. There's got to be.
And, the thing is, I think no matter how we look at it, this probably we're going to have AI filmmaking that's just going to keep growing from all different parts of the world. People are going to make some interesting works, but there's going to be a lot of growing pains, I think. That's the bottom line, obviously, in that whole world. And it's going to be important that filmmakers get informed about that approach of filmmaking. But it's going to be people who are putting in those prompts or whatever and generating imagery. You have generative AI is getting better and better. But then it's getting all that data from pictures and other videos. We talked a little bit before about the legalities that, certain companies write chain of title, what happens, you make some sort of a project, because I assume, there's going to be filmmakers who just didn't have access to be able to make certain kinds of projects. Now you can just prompt it and make it. So filmmakers from the diaspora to filmmakers in Africa who just for the longest time couldn't make an epic, and now they can just type it in. But they make the movie, and it's great, or it's engaging.
it's influenced by a human because a human being did it, told a story that was very hard to actually get made. And now they have it. What does that mean legally now? Because this, we are in kind of uncharted territory at this point. And with the distributor, is the distributor going to take that movie on?
Yeah, I mean, the technology is moving so quickly. My answer today is probably going to be the wrong answer tomorrow. But what's going on with AI and copyright is if you put a prompt into one of these learning models and a film is produced, right? If that's the only human input, then that is not protected by copyright. And therefore, for purposes of chain of title, you have a film that is not protected by copyright and anyone can infringe it. At least that's the US model. And I think that will be the model throughout the world for the most part. Now, most films today are not completely comprised of AI. They have some little bit of AI. Maybe they frank them by some dialogue. Maybe they fix someone's face so that they look 20 years younger. In most cases, you will have certain elements of the film that are not protected by copyright, but for the most part, the rest of the film is. So you don't really have a chain of title issue. But the bigger question, which most governments have not answered yet in terms of, the courts are constantly trying to catch up to this emerging technology, and they never will. But the biggest question is whether a copyright infringement occurs when a learning model grabs all of this material from the ether, puts it into the learning model in order to create something new. Is it an infringement of these millions of things going into the model, even if the model is not a visual or audio reflection of what we see going into it? If that's not a fair use, and if it is an infringement, then that's going to slow down the technology from a legal standpoint, because anybody whose photographs go into that system, regardless of what comes out, if they were part of the learning model, then that's an infringement. So in that case, what you'd see is companies like Adobe, who've created basically a licensed library of material, a smaller universe of material from which to pull, that they can turn into AI material. And in that case, if you're working with one of those companies, you know that Adobe backs you up because the material that they have is licensed for